10 unspoken rules in Korea they don't tell foreigners. What's up, guys? This is JB, back with the popular series about Korea. Now, the first 4 rules are related to dining experiences, and the rest are things you encounter in the everyday, such as transportation or shopping. Number 1, looking at elders in the eye when drinking. Now, this is a big no-no in Korea. When we're drinking with somebody who's older than us, we are supposed to look away when drinking. So you can't look them in the eye when drinking. It's considered very rude. So people, when they get the drink, they look away and drink. I'm sure you guys will notice this when you go to drinking places. People will often do the 짠, which is cheers, and then they would look away and drink. You know, when you're drinking with your friends, this doesn't really matter, but whenever you're drinking with your colleagues, workplace, or even relatives, family members, you're supposed to look away when you're drinking with somebody older than you. Also, one thing to keep in mind is don't let elders pour their own drinks. So if you're not the oldest person in the room, you're supposed to pour other people's drinks. Usually the youngest person in the room pours the drinks. So unless you're the oldest person in the room, keep pouring those shots. Also, this is all part of number 1. When pouring the drink, you're supposed to pour with 2 hands. So if you ever find yourself in a situation when you're pouring drinks for someone older than you, pour with both hands, one hand on the bottle and the other, you put your hand. Now I know that was just the first one, guys. That was just the first one. And I know it's a lot for just one drinking thing, but when in Rome, do as the Romans do, right? Number 2, saying check please at the table at the restaurant. When you go to restaurants, they will give you the check kind of right away. And then, when you order, they'll write the menu on the check. And after you eat and it's time to pay, you bring that check on the table to the counter and pay at the counter. A lot of foreigners, kind of assume they say, check please. They'll give you the check in the beginning, so you don't have to worry about getting the check. And you just have to bring the check and then pay with your card or cash at the counter, which is usually at the entrance of the restaurant. Also, don't tip. You're not supposed to tip. It's considered very rude. So even if you want to thank them, just give them compliments about the food or give them a nice review and they'll appreciate it. Number 3, sticking chopsticks in rice bowls. Now, the reason you can't put chopsticks in the rice bowl is because in our culture, also common in Japan and China as well, when you put your chopsticks in the rice bowl, you do it at funeral rituals as an offering to the dead. So when you do this with people who are actually living, it's considered very rude and you're wishing death upon them. So unless you want to wish death upon them, don't do it. Number 4, blowing your nose at restaurants. This one is super rude, considered like the worst thing you can do at a restaurant. You can be loud. Well, you can't be loud, but it's worse than being loud and obnoxious. Like, you don't want to be blowing your nose at restaurants. This is kind of tough because, there's a lot of spicy and hot food in Korea. You want to kind of blow your nose, but don't do it because it's considered the worst thing you can do at restaurants, right? It's considered super nasty, and it is nasty, but people do it. I do it all the time, but just not in Korea. I'm sure some of you can't help it, but I don't know, go to the bathroom maybe, or step outside, or just do it really quietly, I guess. You know how Koreans don't say it to you, but they will give you that nunchi. Number 5, trying every clothing at the clothing store. This might be maybe a little bit controversial in a way because, why can't you try clothing at a clothing store, right? If you want to make a purchase, you want to try it on to see if it fits you or not. I'm right? That's what I thought. But in some stores in Korea, they don't allow you to wear certain clothing items. For example, some stores don't allow you to try on white t-shirts or some t-shirts in general, tops, because they don't want makeup to be making a stain on the clothing, in which case they can't sell it later on. And I found this to be more common in smaller boutique stores. And if you go to bigger stores or the big department stores or brand stores, they will usually allow you to try everything on with no problem. Now, some stores offer face covers, and there's a sign in the fitting room for you to ask at the counter for a face cover. So you put that on so your makeup doesn't go on the t-shirts and white clothing and whatnot. So look for these signs. Some stores are very strict about it. Some stores are like, encourages you to do. Some stores you can try anything on just like anywhere else in the world. Number 6, sitting in the elder seat or the pregnant woman's seat. Now, this is like one of the biggest things you want to keep in mind when using public transportation in Korea. Whenever you're taking public transportation, especially the subway, every cart that you take has an elderly seat on the edge of the carts and the pregnant lady seat, and you won't miss it because it's in pink. The seats are in pink. Now, if the train is like completely empty or there's only like 2 people in the entire train, that doesn't really matter like wherever you sit, but keep the pregnant woman's seat and the elderly seats open even if there's no other places to sit. Number 7, entering and exiting taxis from the left side. First of all, if you try to enter from the left side of the taxi, it's probably going to be locked. This is mostly for safety reasons. The streets are on the right side of the street, so they only open on the right side. So you enter and exit from the right side. And I've seen this before. If you try to enter from the left side of the taxi, some drivers will just drive off because they think you're a stupid tourist or something. Now, one thing to keep in mind when riding taxis in Korea is you want to be very kind of careful with the meter and the price and everything, because I've heard so many stories of my friends who are from abroad. They get ripped off or they get charged a different fee than what normally gets charged to locals. And this is kind of an unfortunate thing, but it is the reality. Some taxi drivers will try to rip you off because you are a foreigner. And if you notice something suspicious, just tell the cab driver to stop and get out of the taxi. Find another cab. This happened to my friend who was visiting. He rode a cab and the taxi driver just went completely the opposite way, tried to charge, more than and take like double the time. So he got off immediately and found another cab. You don't want to be taken advantage of, so just keep that in mind. Now, it's not going to happen every time you ride a cab, but just keep in mind, look at the meter. There's always like a guesstimate, an estimate of how much it's going to cost. Like if it's like way more than that or things really off, make sure you call them out and let them know, hey, use the translating apps and they'll know what's up. Number 8, leaving your bikes unlocked. I'm sure you guys have all heard this about Korea. Korea is like super safe. Everywhere you go, nobody's going to steal anything. You put your laptop at cafes and nobody will take it for a couple hours. I've seen those videos and most of it is true. It's very safe. Like people leave bags. Like I've seen people leave their phones and go to the bathroom. I would never do that in other countries, but in Korea, very low chance of your things getting stolen, especially in big cities like Seoul. And it's not like magically, people in Korea are just like nicer and they don't want to steal. It's like there's too many CCTV cameras like everywhere that they know they're gonna get caught, so they don't steal. People will not steal your phones, your laptops, and all these valuables, but they will steal your bikes. And I've heard so many things about people's bikes getting stolen from my friends and people I know that you got to make sure you lock them. Even if you lock them, they might cut it and, steal it. One thing to keep in mind, if you ever have bikes in Korea, that's something you got to be like extra careful about. Number 9, taking photos and videos of other people in public. Now, Koreans are very strict about the image, I guess. So they really don't mess with people taking photos and videos in public without their consent. Whenever people post on social media, they will block every single people that are in the photo or the video. And at first I thought it was like kind of weird, but it makes sense because the Korean people are very self-aware of what gets online and stuff. So, some people might sue because, they posted something without their consent. I feel like, just like anywhere else in the world too, most people don't, but in Korea it's a bit stronger for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Number 10, giving or receiving with one hand. This is a big no-no, guys. When you are receiving or giving gifts, you're supposed to give and receive with two hands. These kind of things, it just has to be kind of like muscle memory. Like you can't think about every time so you just gotta like kind of put it in your system. And it's like a respect thing, right? Like you want to be very respectful when you're receiving and giving. All right, guys, thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys found these tips to be helpful. Unspoken rules, right? They exist in every country. You want to be mindful and be respectful of the cultures and rules that are in place to make your travels and stay a lot more smoother. Now, it's a lot of information I put out there, guys. Don't try to memorize all of them or anything. The most important thing is your attitude, right? About respecting and acknowledging the culture that exists. If you have that attitude, that will show. So even if you make a mistake, people will notice if you either have that attitude or not, the respect. So just keep that in mind, and I'm sure you guys will have a wonderful travel or stay in Korea. Let me know in the comments if you guys found any more unspoken rules in Korea while you guys were traveling or staying here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.